What is the primary goal that a filmmaker is trying to achieve? There are a lot of different answers to this, but I'd say it's to make you think. Specifically, when the movie is over, you should still be thinking about it. Whether you're discussing it with your friends and family, or perhaps writing your own review to summarise your opinions, the biggest mistake a movie can make is to not leave an impact on the audience it was intended for. And well, let's just say 2017's Good Time certainly left an impact.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
Benny and Josh Safdie's 2017 synthwave thriller is many things. It's a political commentary on the justice system. It looks at the treatment of the disabled in a rural America. And more importantly, in my opinion, the movie is about the benefit of hindsight, or knowing something before it happens.
You know, with the benefit.
As this whole movie gains a larger meaning on a second viewing that explains a lot of its central protagonist's decisions, which I will be looking at today. Let's start by running through the plot, then the average viewer's thoughts on a first viewing. Brothers Connie and Nick Nickus rob a bank, which doesn't go too well, resulting in Nick being arrested and sent to a very rough prison cell. The same brother that has some form of mental disability that would not be safe in that environment. So Connie sets out on a night-long odyssey, doing whatever it takes to save his brother. It's during this odyssey that many events occur, involving illegal substances, underage sex, and emotional manipulation, just to name a few, all commuted by Connie truly doing whatever it takes to get enough money to bail his brother out. On a first viewing, the audience may overlook these points, as our sympathy for the disabled means that we will excuse these illegal actions and hope Connie succeeds to free his brother. Helped along by the casting of Robert Pattinson, known for his charming bad boy romantic that we should be rooting for. The movie dedicates the entire opening into making you care about Nick, so that Connie's journey to save him feels like a righteous path. Until the very last scene, mere moments before the credits roll. It's at this point that I don't want to lose anyone. While I do consider it a twist ending, it does not compare to the likes of The Sixth Sense or The Village. It's more opening your eyes to what's actually going on, and repeat viewings allow you to see past these rose-tinted glasses and see this odyssey for what it truly is. Simple as this. Nick didn't need saving. Nick was transferred to a class where he could be around people that would help his mental state and lead him on the road to recovery. The movie has commentary on an unfair justice system, but ends by showing that people that need help can be identified and helped, as the therapist does for Nick, by giving him his happy ending, one that the audience has been yearning for, and placing Connie under a massive spotlight. Connie's actions are now unforgiving, and we are left to reassess everything he's done, completely changing how we viewed the last 90 minutes of chaos. In the opening scene, Connie tells off Nick for crying, and gives off the impression that he shouldn't talk about his inner feelings, sheltering him not for protection, but because Connie doesn't want his brother to be taken advantage of by others. This point can be justified that they live in a rough neighbourhood, so Nick would need to be tough to survive. However, I would then argue Nick has no right to be in that neighbourhood at all. This scene also mentions Connie and Nick's only family, being their grandmother, a character that is described as abusive and unlikable due to Nick throwing a pan after an argument. However, in every scene we see her, she is either supporting Nick or in the best interest to find Connie and bring him home, which shows Connie has twisted and manipulated the way Nick views his family. There are more surface examples like this, like Connie trying to have sex with an underage girl to distract her from the TV, robbing a bank, which gets no motive, and finally causing a security guard to overdose on LSD only to then break into his house, just to name a few examples. However, all of this will be overlooked if we think he is the protagonist. The world plays a huge part in selling this realism. Every shot is an extreme close-up with a neon haze for a background. We are entirely consumed by character and realism. The camera moves like it's another person trapped in the claustrophobic world Connie finds himself in. We know what a person's face looks like, and we know what a house or a bus looks like, so coverage is not important, because a rural American audience can fill in those gaps, and the rest of the world's audience can only imagine. This places full focus on the movie's characters, as we dart around their faces, struggling to comprehend what is happening. This confusion will relate to real-world situations, where so much happens at once that we overlook what we've just done or said because we just want to get through it. This hazy memory of events is why we excuse the actions Connie commits, turning a blind eye because we just want to see him succeed. Dialogue is also a very important factor in creating realism. In reality, there aren't rousing speeches, and everyone is only focused on their own words, and the Safdies direct their actors impeccably by having them constantly interrupt or talk over each other to create an anxious feeling, as we can all relate to situations like this in our everyday lives. Maybe at a party or with a group of friends, we do not wait for someone else to finish their points. There is a ferocious impatience that is innate within the characters of Good Time. Dialogue is thrown our way through constant conflict, or Connie himself acting as a social animal, manipulating his situations in ever more dangerous ways. As the movie continues, and Connie goes further and further to manipulate the people around him, there reaches a transitional point where Connie stops mentioning Nick entirely, and I believe it's around the same time that he discovers the body he recovered wasn't the right person, and his motivation begins to change, or at the very least, be forgotten, as he goes down a completely different rabbit hole that could be completely disconnected from the plot, since there's no reassurance that Connie will use the money he gets to help his brother. The only downtime in the movie is a short conversation right at the end in which you would expect Connie to reinforce his motivation and defend what he had done. However, this doesn't happen. A much more interesting piece of writing ensues that is essentially a man with a god complex thinking he's won 6 minutes before the movie ends, only for it all to fall apart in seconds. We learn more about Connie here in the way his brain works, thinking other people are too docile and predictable, which makes them boring drones. Connie clearly has big dreams and aspirations, but doesn't want to be held back by his own race. The final shot we see of Connie is an incredibly long one-shot of his self-reflection in the back of the police car. As a god trapped behind bars, his entire mindset proven wrong, he seems completely broken and angry, with no way to extrude it. Fantastic acting on the behalf of Pattinson that really sells the idea of the character getting a comeuppance that is a victory in disguise, as it keeps his brother safe from the real villain, himself. The final scene of Nick recovering plays a track written specifically for the movie about how no matter how good or bad people are, the pure will always act from love, and on the other side of the coin, the damned will also act out of love, and that's how we engage with Connie. We embark upon his journey with him, because he is doing it through the familial love of Nick. He lost sight along the way, and his own selfish tendencies took over, but the melancholic ending provides us with a glimmer of hope that Nick will be redeemed and lead a moral life, whilst his brother is kept far away, which could be for the best. It makes the audience question the strength of love, the crazy things it can cause us to do, and acceptance that sometimes we aren't compatible with each other and can provide a negative influence on both parties. Connie is the reason Nick went to prison, and Nick is the reason Connie went to prison. This never-ending loop needed to end, and so we as an audience may feel confused and unsure of the ending, but the movie incites conversation, to tally up your own positive and negatives of the movie's outcome, and to factor that into your own comparable lives.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.